Welcome to the Satwa channel, the official online platform of the Satwa project. Hello everyone, I'm Hansi.
Hi everyone, I'm Ting Ying. We are from Satwa Youth, bringing Dharma to you and preaching Dharma with youth. Satwa Youth is a Buddhist youth program initiated by the Satwa Project. Back to you, Hansi.
Yeah, first of all, on behalf of the Satwa project, we would like to express our thankfulness to our StreamYard sponsor and media partners, Durian Asians and Durian FM. And not to forget also the important man behind the scene, our broadcast director, Brother Chong. Thank you very much for your generous contribution and kind efforts. Hi, Brother Chong, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Very good evening and welcome to the session. To all of those who are watching, please do like and share so that more can benefit from it. And also, those of you who are watching on YouTube later, please do subscribe and like our channel. So now back to you guys.
Thank you, Brother Chong. Welcome everyone again to our series of meditation for world peace and global healing tonight. We are going to have a very meaningful meditation sessions guided by Khenpo Sonam Tsewang. Today's topic entitled Guided Healing Meditations, a practice on Buddha Sakyamuni. Brother Chong, could we have the next slide? Yep. Sitting quietly at home, spreading love and kindness all around the globe. Today's live meditation section will be divided into three parts. Each take around 20 minutes. Begin with a short talk, then we'll sit and meditate for another 20 minutes, followed by question and answer, and ended conclusion with dedication prayer.
Now, let me take the opportunity to give a brief introduction about Khenpo. Khenpo Sonam Tsewang graduated at the Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Study in Varanasi and also studied at Namdroling Monastery at the Nagyo Nyingma Institute, where he was enthroned as a Khenpo in 2011. He has translated the all-pervading melodies Sound of Thunder, the outer liberation story of Turtle Migodoje together with Judy's MCs, and is currently working on a new translation of Longchen Pa's Treasury of Fifth Instruction. He travels extensively with Khenchen Pema Sherat Rinpoche, serving as his translator. Let us all welcome Khenpo La. Hi, Khenpo La.
Hi, Kimbola.
Hello.
Yeah, Khenpo La, we pass the session to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Um, Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Um, this is the continuation of the session of the last time that we had on the meditation practice and recitation on Buddha Sakyamuni, our teacher. So some of the part that we have finished, and today I'm going to continue where we have left yesterday in the last session. So before I continue, before I start to explain on the remaining part of the text, I would like to remind all our viewers and listeners, watchers to um, to most importantly to reflect on the importance of motivation, because we are going to devote some of our precious time into this, trying to understand the meditative practice on Shakyamuni Buddha, our teacher, compassionate teacher. And since this is a purely kind of spiritual activity, it's very important that we kind of set our intention correctly, so that whatever time that we have devoted will be productive, will be helpful for ourselves and for others. So first of all, it's important to look within and set our intention, and that intention is actually makes or breaks our practice, study, whatever activities that we may engage in. So therefore, develop a good heart, a kind heart, a warm heart towards oneself and towards all those who wish happiness and who do not want suffering, who are just like us. So therefore, with this motivation, now let's go and try to understand the remaining part of the sadhana, the text. So I would like to request Brother Chong to, if you can show the on the screen the text so that we can slowly go through. So in the last session, we began with taking refuge, which means to say that we take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the three jewels, and then that was followed by generation of bodhicitta, the altruistic mind, and then followed by the practice on four immeasurables. Then this was followed by visualization on Shakyamuni Buddha, where in the prayer itself, what was mentioned is what actually is the feature, the physical feature of Shakyamuni Buddha in a vivid form, so that we can visualize and then imagine Shakyamuni Buddha and concentrate on his form, as well as also remind ourselves of his wonderful qualities, body, speech, and mind, particularly the qualities of his enlightened mind, which is filled with wisdom, compassion, and enlightened activities. So after the visualization, what we try to understand is before we actually do the meditation and recitation, what was mentioned in the text is we do the practice of what we call the seven branch practice, and that's a very important Buddhist practice, which speaks about how practicing the seven branch is key to accumulation of merit and purification of negativities. So the first one, the first branch is the branch of paying homage, prostrating, offering homage to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and which is actually the which is an antidote to pride. So pride comes in the way of our spiritual development. So therefore, when we do prostration, then we apply the antidote to pride, and which it helps us to overcome pride. And the second branch that we practice is making offerings of all the prosperities of the world to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And that offering is an antidote to avarice or stinginess. And the third one is practice of confession. And the practice of confession is an antidote to aggression or hatred. And the fourth one is practice of rejoice, which is an antidote to jealousy. The fifth one is requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma. We request the Buddhas to teach, and that actually acts as an antidote to ignorance. The sixth one is requesting not to pass away into parinirvana. That means not to pass away into peace, and that's an antidote to wrong views. And finally, we do dedication of merit, which is actually the antidote to doubt. So after this, then we kind of we start with this line: living beings like us, adrift in this degenerate age, have no guidance and protection. Because of your kindness, caring for us with surpassing compassion, every manifestation in this world now of the three jewels is your enlightened activity. Now, this is to remind us the kindness of Buddha Shakyamuni, because in this particular age where beings are constantly uh, tormented by negative emotions, by suffering, by pain, lot of fear, especially like in this pandemic, a lot of paranoia is there, fear is there. So when we go through such kind of situation, when we have no guidance, when we lack protection, then we kind of invoke Shakyamuni Buddha, and we think of his kindness, with his compassion, whatever little bit of resource, of hope, of strength that we have now, the manifestation of Buddha's body, speech, and mind, whatever that we have now of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the manifestations, the three manifestations or the three jewels, whatever is there is because of Buddha Shakyamuni's enlightened activity. So then, can you scroll down? You are then our only refuge, incomparable, supreme. So from our hearts we pray with total confidence and faith. Do not neglect the great promises you made in times gone by, but hold us until we attain enlightenment with your compassion. So this is to again remind and Buddha Shakyamuni that he has made promise to take care of the beings of this degenerate age. So we pray with great confidence, with devotion, with faith, and then we remind Buddha Shakyamuni of whatever promises that he has made for the benefit of sentient beings, to remind that and also to hold us until we achieve enlightenment with his compassion. So after the seventh branch prayer and these following two verses, then with the strongest possible confidence and faith, now these are the small kind of letters in blue. This is actually the instruction. Like when we do the practice, there is a particular instruction that how one should follow. So this is actually to practice with the strongest possible confidence and faith. Consider that the Buddha is actually there in front of you. Concentrate one pointedly on his form and recite the following as many as times as you can. Now, the instruction is quite clear. It talks about the importance of thinking that Buddha Shakyamuni is actually right in front of us. So when we have faith, and the Buddha's wisdom and compassion is always there, it is beyond space and time, which means to say the compassion and wisdom, his compassion and wisdom is not limited by time and space. So everywhere his compassion and his wisdom pervades everywhere. Now, how to receive that compassion, his blessing and his wisdom, is that we need that devotion. We need the faith, which actually acts as, because of the theory of interdependence, that when we have devotion and faith, then we receive the compassion, wisdom, blessing of the Buddhas. So that's how it works, because everything is interdependent. So with this devotion, then we recite the following the prayer as many times as we can, and that is the meaning of the prayer is: Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. So this is kind of repeated again and again, and that is calling the name of Shakyamuni Buddha. So when we call the name of Shakyamuni Buddha with intense devotion, with single-pointed, without any doubt, full trust and full confidence in the Buddha's compassion, in the Buddha's wisdom, limitless, unconditional love, of unconditional compassion. Um, when we pray in that manner, then what happens is like we receive blessings. So again, that's followed by the instruction. Then, as a means of invoking his wisdom mind, recite as many times as you can the following dharani, which is taught in the abridged Prashna Paramita. So this is actually the source text where we find Buddha Shakyamuni's mantra, Buddha Shakyamuni's heart mantra, a wisdom mind. That is the wisdom mind. The mantra actually represents the wisdom mind of Buddha Shakyamuni. So the mantra should be read as Tadyata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Swaha. And after reciting this maybe 100 times, as many as times as possible, then afterwards we can leave the Tadyata and then recite right away Om Mani Mani Mahamuni Soha. During all this, bring to mind the Buddha's qualities, and with a mind full of devotion, concentrate one pointedly on the clear visualization of his form. Then, through the power of uttering the names of the Buddha and reciting his dharani, imagine that. Now, what is important is when we do the recitation, what is important is our uh, our mind should be focused on the visualization of the Buddha's form, and at the same time, we also need to think of the enlightened qualities of the Buddha, his wisdom, his compassion, his power. And when we do that and when we recite the mantra, then what happens is it actually makes the practice very powerful. So once after doing that, then another visualization, once we have done finished the recitation of the mantra, from the Buddha's body, there emanates a great radiance of multicolored rays of wisdom light, dispelling all our own and others' obscuration, and causing all the genuine qualities of the Mahayana path to arise within us, so that we attain the level of perfection from which we will never return again to samsara. So this is not only to be visualized, but also to be recited, that from the Buddha's body, the light emanates, multicolored light. And these light are not ordinary light, but wisdom light. And that help us to dispel and remove all one's and others' obscurations. Obscurations are mental defilements, negativities. When we are able to remove those obscurations, then the wisdom dawn in us, clarity dawn in us, bliss dawn in us, non-conceptuality dawn in us. All of these mental qualities manifest as a result of removing the obscurations. And all the Mahayana qualities, the path, qualities of the Mahayana path, which actually essentially is none other than wisdom and compassion. And when these arise in us, then what happens is we achieve the level of perfection, and as a result of which we will never return again to samsara, which means to say we will be liberated. So this is the end of the practice. And again, the author, Mifam Rinpoche, gives an instruction like while doing this practice, what we can do is also at this particular instant after we have done the practice, in between we can do mandala offering. We can also recite the praises of the Buddhas. There are many different prayers in praise of the Buddha's qualities, and some of the sutras which talks about the life story of Buddha, how he first generated bodhicitta, and how he worked to accumulate the merit and how he achieved Buddhahood. And also there are past life stories, like 500 lifetimes, life stories where he uh, when his journey on the path to enlightenment involved taking birth in different forms and then working for the benefit of sentient beings. So all these prayers can be said in between while doing this practice. So that in that related to that instruction, it is said here: diligently apply yourself to this practice as much as you can. In between the sessions, practice mandala offering and recite to the best of your ability whatever sutras you prefer, such as the praises of the Buddha, White Lotus of Compassion, Lalita Vistara, Jataka tales, or 108 names of the Tathagatas. Then once you have done that, dedicate the source of virtue toward unsurpassable awakening and recite prayers of aspiration. Now, this is an important part of the practice. Whatever practice that we do, we conclude it with dedication. The importance of dedication is that when we do a practice or when we engage in any kind of spiritual activity, if you do not dedicate, it can be exhausted by a certain moment of anger, a bout of anger. Any kind of negative emotion can drain those virtue, those merit that has been accumulated. So it's very important to seal them with dedication so that they cannot be exhausted. So that's the dedication part. Then there's one line which is actually the dedication. Like all the Buddhas and their heirs, in enlightened intention and in activity, aspiration, wisdom, love, and capacity, in these and all the ways unsurpassable wisdom manifests, may I and every other being come to be exactly as they are. Now, this is a dedication particularly done with the objective of achieving the state of Buddha Sakyamuni. When we say Buddha Sakyamuni and his heirs, we think of their enlightened activity, their aspirations, their enlightened aspirations, their wisdom, their boundless love, unconditional love, and their capacity, their enlightened powers. And whatever is the qualities they have, may all of us, including myself, may all of us, achieve that kind of state. So that is a very important dedication. Okay, then so this is again a small note on the guide or guidance or advice by Mipham Rinpoche, how important is this practice and how one can practice the calm abiding, shamatha, and vipassana, which is a special insight practice, along with this particular sadhana. In general, whatever you are doing, whether it is moving, walking, sleeping, or sitting, you should constantly remember the Buddha. Even at night, when you go to sleep, consider that the radiance of the Buddha's form illuminates the whole of space in every direction, lighting it up as brightly as during the day. Now, this is an important sleep practice. Like when we go to sleep, we normally every day or every night, like we spend like so many hours, at least like 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, some even 9 hours, some even more than that, right? So a considerable part of our life is devoted to sleep. And this particular practice talks about how to use those the duration of the sleep that we kind of devote into something, how to transform that into something positive, something constructive. And that is like through this particular visualization at all times. when you go to sleep, consider that the radiance of the Buddha's form illuminates the whole of space. Before going to sleep, think that from the Buddha's image of his form, then he radiates light, and which actually illuminates the whole of the universe, and everything becomes so bright as the day. So when you think of that, and then when you go to sleep, the whole of the duration of sleep becomes kind of positive. So otherwise, when we go to sleep, we are so tired and we just kind of go into darkness. And when all the sense perception cease to be, only the mind is there, and then it's total darkness. So that therefore, how to transform that into something positive is kind of explained here. At all times, emulate the Buddha's actions from the moment he first generated the mind of awakening, and follow the example of the Buddhas and great bodhisattvas of the past, present, and future, maintaining your commitment to precious bodhicitta without ever allowing it to waver. Exert yourself as much as possible in the bodhisattva's conduct in general, and in particularly the practices of shamatha and vipassana, so as to make meaningful the freedom and advantages of this human existence. Now, this particular part talks about the main essence of the Mahayana practice, which is bodhicitta, generation of bodhicitta, and how to kind of increase it, how to nurture it, how to nurture the mind of the bodhicitta, and how to increase it, through this particular practice. And then along with that, do the shamatha, which is calm abiding, and a special insight, vipassana practice. If you do so, then you make your life meaningful. It is said in the several sutras that merely hearing the name of our teacher, the Buddha, ensures that one will gradually progress along the path to great enlightenment without ever falling back. It is also said that the Dharani revealed above is the source of all the Buddhas. It was through the force of discovering this Dharani that the king of Shakyas, which means to say Shakyamuni Buddha himself, attained enlightenment, and that our Lokiteshvara became the supreme of all the bodhisattvas. So here talks about the importance of the Dharani itself, the mantra itself, how it is the essence of Shakyamuni Buddha. Through simply hearing this Dharani, a vast accumulation of merit will easily be gained, and all the karmic obscuration will be purified, and when it is recited, obstacles will not occur. This has been taught in the abridged Prashna Paramita, which is the name of a text. Other teachings say that by reciting this Dharani only once, all the harmful actions that you have committed throughout 800 million kalpas will be purified. They say that it possesses boundless qualities such as these, and is the sacred heart essence of Buddha Sakyamuni. The ways to generate faith and exert oneself in the practices of shamatha and vipassana are explained elsewhere. Now, this talks about, again, in essence, what we can understand is the power of this particular practice, and is twofold. One is one accumulate a lot of merit, and then on the other hand, one purifies the obscurations, the mental defilements, the veils that we have, the delusions that we have, the ignorance that we have, the negative emotions that we have, can be removed through this particular practice. Okay, then comes the colophon. The intention to compose this text first arose due to the persistent encouragement of Un Organ Tenzin Nobu, who is the holder of the Treasury of Threefold Training, and who accompanied his request with the offering of auspicious substances. More recently, the name On Rinpoche sent Tuku Jingmepal Pema Dechen with gifts of gold and other auspicious substances, saying, "Please finish it quickly." At the urging of these two great masters, I, Mipham Jamyang Gyatso, a follower of Shakyamuni Buddha with unshakable faith in the Supreme Teacher and is a Dharma teacher in name, only during this final age, composed this at Finsok Norbuling at the foot of Mount Zad Dorje Penchuk It was completed on the 8th day of the month of miracles in the Iron Rat year. May this benefit. Now, this actually talks about the scenario where this particular text was composed, in who requested and who composed it, and in what circumstance it was written. So most of the Tibetan texts, like commentaries and treatises that the masters of the past, particularly in Tibet, whenever they wrote, then they, in the colophon, they provide this information. So it's a very important historical record, like in what circumstances these the texts were composed, and who requested, and how it was composed, and in a, including the time where it was composed, and in which year it was composed. So it's a very important. The colophon is an important source of information. May this benefit the teachings and beings continuously without interruption on a marvelous scale, and may all who see, hear, think of, or come into contact with it in any way truly receive the incomparable blessings of our teacher, the Lord of Sages. So this is a dedication, particularly after composing this text by Mipam Rinpoche. So this completes the short explanation on Shakyamuni Buddha's sadhana ritual text. It's quite simple and very beautiful text, and anybody can practice. The quality of the special extraordinary quality of this text is that anybody can practice it, and if possible, if you can receive the reading transmission, then it would be very helpful, and one can practice this anywhere and everywhere at whatever time that we have. So now what we will do is we will try to read this text together, and also do some meditation practice, practically, and do the mantra recitation, which is the dharani, so-called dharani, Om Mani Mani Mahamani Yaso, and after some time, then we can conclude and have a Q&A. So, Brother Chong, can you show the text from the beginning so that we can recite it together? The English, we can read the English, we can leave the Tibetan and read the English so that everybody can follow. Please scroll down. This is again a note, from here. So okay. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. We have to recite this 3 times. So the second one, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so on, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. After finishing the refuge and bodhicitta, now we recite this for immeasurable. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the sacred happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in boundless equanimity that is free from attachment and aversion. Now we start with visualization. Ah, as the union of unborn emptiness and the ceaseless appearances of interdependence, magically there appears before me in the sky, amidst vast clouds of offerings, on a jeweled line throne, and the lotus, sun, and moon dish seats, the incomparable teacher, line of the Shakyas. His body, the color of gold, adorned with major and minor marks, clad in the three Dharma robes, he sits in Vajra posture, his right hand gracefully poised in the earth-touching mudra, and his left hand is in gesture of meditation, holding an alms bowl full of nectar. Like a mountain of gold, magnificent, he shines in splendor, spreading beams of wisdom across the whole expanse of space. The eight close suns, 16 elders, and the like, a vast ocean-like retinue of noble beings, encircles him all around. Simply think of him, and he grants the glory of the highest bliss, liberation from samsara and nirvana, the two extremes. He is the great being, perfect embodiment of every source of refuge. Now comes the seven branch prayer. With your great compassion, you embrace this turbulent and degenerate world and made 500 mighty aspirations. You are as exalted as the white lotus. Whoever hears your name shall never return to samsara. Most compassionate teacher, to you I pay homage. All my own and others' virtues of body, speech, and mind, together with all our possessions, visualized like Samandabhadra's offering clouds, I offer to you. All the harmful actions and transgressions I have committed throughout beginningless time, each and every one I now confess with intense and heartfelt regret. In all virtuous actions of the noble ones and ordinary beings, accumulated throughout the past, present, and future, I rejoice. Turn the wheel of profound and vast Dharma teachings ceaselessly in every direction, I pray. Your wisdom body is like space and remains changeless throughout past, present, and future. Yet, in the perception of those to be guided, you go through the display of birth and death. Even so, let your form body continue always to appear. Through all the virtues I have accumulated in the past, am accumulating now, and will accumulate in the future, for the sake of benefit of all beings, who are as infinite as space, may you, the sovereign of Dharma, be forever pleased, and may all attain the state of the victorious one, the Lord of Dharma. Living beings like us, adrift in this degenerate age, have no guidance and protection. Because of your kindness, caring for us with surpassing compassion, every manifestation in this world now of the three jewels is your enlightened activity. You are then our only refuge, incomparable, supreme. So from our hearts we pray with total confidence and faith. Do not neglect the great promises you made in times gone by, but hold us until we attain enlightenment with your compassion. Now, with the concentration upon the Buddha's image, now we recite the name of Shakyamuni Buddha 3 times. Supreme Teacher, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror, Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Supreme Teacher, Shakyamuni, Bhagavan, Tathagata, Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Supreme Teacher Bhagavan Tathagata Arhat, complete and perfect Buddha, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni Buddha, to you I pay homage, to you I make offerings, in you I take refuge. Now we recite the mantra or dharani together. Tadiyatha Om Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha, 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 Tadiyatha Om Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha. Tadiyatha Om Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha, 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 Tadiyatha Om Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha. Tadiyatha Om Mani Mani Mahamani Swaha, 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 Now we recite without tadyata, just Om Mani 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 So, 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 Om Mani M Om Mani Mani Ma Mani As 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 Om Mani Mani Om Mani Mani Ma Mani As Om Mani Mani Om Mani Mani Mahamuni Soha. Can you scroll down? Okay. Now, from the Buddha's body, there emanates a great radiance of multicolored rays of wisdom light, dispelling all our own and others' obscurations, and causing all the genuine qualities of the Mahayana path to arise within us, so that we attain the level of perfection from which we will never return again to samsara. Now we do the dedication like all the Buddhas and their heirs in enlightened intention and in activity, aspiration, wisdom, love, and capacity. In all these and all the ways unsurpassable wisdom manifests, may I and every other being too come to be exactly as they are. Okay, so this complete the the dedication, recitation, recitation, visualization of the mantra, recitation of the mantra, and followed by dedication. Now, now we can do a Q&A, like if there's any question.
Thank you very much to Kempola. We enjoyed the sections very much. Hope our audience too. So now will be the Q&A sections. Everyone, please write down your question at the comment section. Yeah, I think the live here still don't have any questions, but then there's a question from my partner Hansi. So Hansi, would you like to share it yourself?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, Campola, just wondering. Normally, when we are feel in a we are fall in a negative emotion, is very difficult for us to see the universal truth. So how to believe that we are really capable of dispelling our own obstacles? This is my question.
Actually, it's quite true that it's difficult. It's very challenging to really understand and know that obstacles are being cleared away or not. Now, what is important is when we practice dharma. Practice dharma means to work on our minds, to work on our emotions, because emotions, what happens is when we don't have any control over our emotions, when we are carried away by emotions, when we don't have any control, and as a result of that, we can actually see that, that they are destructive and they bring us harm, to us, to ourselves, and to others as well. And when we practice the Dharma, what happens is like we work on our emotions. When we work on our emotions, we can't expect instant result. That is very important for all the practitioners. It's very important for them to know that the result, actually, it's kind of like one thing is we are so much conditioned by this instant thing. Everything is instant, like instant noodle. You want something, instantly you can get it. So that's the age that we are living in. Materially, it's like that. If you have money, instantly you can buy, you can change things. But when it comes to changing our mind, transforming our mind, it doesn't work like that, because on the one hand, mind is not graspable. It's not kind of something tangible, something physical, that change or transformation takes time. And moreover, we are always the victim of our own habits. We have a very strong habit. When that habit overtakes our sense of reasoning, even if we know the reasoning, that through reason and through intellect, through our wisdom, little bit of wisdom, we know that this is harmful, but habits take over us. And then, we become their victim. And we become helpless. We are helpless in a way. So what is important is constant practice, constant reminder, and when we do constant reminder through study, through reflection, and through meditation, what happens is like we gain certain sense of clarity of our thoughts. When we see the clarity of our thoughts, then what happens is we know that we gain a certain kind of control over our emotions, and that comes, it's not like instant kind of thing, through practice, through gradual practice it comes. It is not like you can't expect in a fortnight, or a few weeks. It takes years. But it's kind of a very how to say, interesting journey, like when we work on our minds constantly. And it's something always, like, if you think positively, then it's always workable. The mind is always workable, it's always with you. You don't really need to look for your mind to work on, isn't, because it is always with you, right? So therefore, like, constant reminder, constant reflection, uh, constant meditation. And then after a few years, when you do that practice, a few years, where you look back and see, like, what is your sense like that. You get some kind of taste of your confidence, some kind of inner confidence that, okay, after all, these emotions are not kind of like not that destructive as I thought them to be. They are workable, they are fixable. I can change the course of my direction, and that confidence come through constant practice. And this is something that actually shows that our mind is workable, and we all have this inner goodness that is within us. And that's the point that we always shouldn't forget, that it is workable, and result will be there, but you have to be a little bit patient with yourself. You can't expect instant result. So when you have gained a little bit of confidence over your emotions, and then you will see that obstacles are nothing outside. Obstacles are all inside, and these obstacles can be cleared if you have clarity in thought, if you have confidence in your practice. Then um, uh, everything seems much easier than before.
Thank you, Kempola. I think this is really um, a good saying to every youth like us, because we are really get used to all the instant things here. Like
Yeah, yeah,
everything
yeah.
we want to urge, want to rush is we want the instant result, especially even during our works life or anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
但是
and
so it
and and I think it is a conditioning. It's a conditioning. It's that we live in an age where we are conditioned by these things, expectation. Like if you go to work, then the boss will always ask you about like how much you have achieved so far, and then if you have not reached the target, then you are being kind of like, so what to do? You're helpless, think in that way. But that doesn't apply to every facets of life. Mind actually, when it is conditioned, when it is habituated, it took a lot of time to reach to this state of bad habit, and of course it will take time for transformation. It's reasonable. So you have to be kind to yourself. You have to have confidence in yourself that you can do it, you know but you should not be too restless and desperate for like instant kind of change.
yeah, then it will like drop into another instant expectation again. Okay, okay. I think there is still no question from our floors. You mind, maybe our audience can write your questions now. We still have few minutes left. I would like to repeat some questions from the last section. Is that okay, Ebola?
Sure.
Yeah, I think last section we have a lot of questions, so we haven't answered all of them. There's two more questions is asking about sutra. The first question by Cassie Liu last time is the Avatamsaka Sutra the same as Bodhisattva Pitaka's? And then
Avatamsaka.
Avatamsaka Sutra. And then another also a sutra question. So I repeat the questions first. There's a question from learner Paul. He is asking, is there any connection with these two extremes and the two extremes as mentioned in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta? Yeah.
Okay. Um, yes, Avatamsaka, the Avatamsaka Sutra actually, in the Avatamsaka Sutra, I haven't read the sutra itself, but more or less, it's a Mahayana Sutra, and it talks about the Bodhisattva's path, and particularly one section is quite interesting, like that we in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, we kind of have extracted one particular aspiration. It's called King of Aspiration Prayers, and Samandabhadra's King of Aspiration Prayers. And it talks about the Bodhisattva Samandabhadra, and that Bodhisattva, particular Bodhisattva Samandabhadra, is known for making huge offerings, extensive offerings, and offerings are not kind of um, offerings can be of two types, like actual offering, physical offering, flowers, scented water, candles, fruits, and food, and all the riches, whatever there is, we can offer it to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and that is actual offering, physically. But then there is another more powerful offering, and that is through imagination. So Samandabhadra is known to be an expert on imaginative offerings, you know. So there's one, so that particular text, the King of Aspiration, talks about the essence of all the maybe hundreds and thousands of aspirations the bodhisattvas make, uh, on their path to enlightenment, and the essence of them is being kind of like put together in one particular prayer, and we do that, on some of the practitioners, they do it daily. Like, it's a very powerful. So it is said that there can be hundreds and thousands and different type of aspiration prayers of the bodhisattvas, but the essence of them can be found in this particular prayer, and that actually comes from the Avatamsaka Sutra. And definitely this related to bodhisattva's practice. Bodhisattva means those who aspire to achieve enlightenment, the Buddhahood, and they are on the path. They are on the path, they are on the journey to enlightenment. They are the future Buddhas, so to say. So they, after they complete their journey to enlightenment, they reach what we call Buddhahood. So that particular prayer is so powerful, and it's actually the essence of all the bodhisattva aspirations. And when we read that, we can imagine that limitless, like, how we can open up our mind, how we can imagine in that way. Like, suppose we talk about making offering to limitless, infinite, countless Buddhas, or we can think of making offering to one Buddha. But when we talk about limitless Buddhas, may I be able to make offerings to the limitless of Buddhas, then we can say, may I be able to benefit limitless beings in the limitless space. So the space is limitless, and the beings are also limitless, and their pain and suffering is also limitless. So may I be able to work for the benefit of them until they reach enlightenment, until they reach liberation. So you can see the imagination, the power of the mind, So that's Mahayana. Mahayana is the power of the mind. Thinking big. It's thinking big. Like, you can't think bigger than that. Like, like, for example, if you make an aspiration, until the samsara is becomes empty, when all beings are liberated, may I be there to serve all beings. So can you imagine that amount of work that is needed for that? So you're ready for that. And that kind of comes, that courage, that dedication, that determination comes from aspiration. And that's the power of aspiration. Okay, now to the second question. The second question is about middle way. The middle way that is mentioned in the Dhammachakra Pravartan Sutra, it talks about middle way of the conduct, like middle way in terms of how we should treat our body. Because when we practice Dharma, we can go to two extremes. When we live our life physically, we can go to two extremes. One is like either always kind of, we always run after food, whatever is good, luxury, luxury, and not one particular type of food. We want like 50, 100, thousands, and 50, 100,000 types of drinks, and then clothes, hundreds and thousands of types of clothes. We can go to that extent. We can be crazy about it if we have resource, right? If you don't control our sensual desire, or whatever you may call it, if you don't control our greed, our craving, then you can go to that extreme, of luxury. That's one extreme of living your life. The another extreme is like, some people are there, like, they work so hard, they hardly eat enough food, nutritious food. Suppose I'm going to practice Dharma, and as a part of the practice, if I torture my body too much, deprive the body of the basic needs of enough food, nutrition, and drink and clothes, then I'm actually torturing my body, and I may die before I actually accomplish my goals, isn't it? So that's the two extreme we talk about. So Buddha said that you should not go to these two extremes, but take care of our body, of the basic needs, but don't go into luxury, too much luxury, because that's you're extending your desire. You will always be restless, will not be satisfied. Always there will be dissatisfaction if you always run after things. So have a balanced kind of approach. So that's the middle way related to conduct, right? The one that was in the prayer is about the achievement of the goal for a spiritual practitioner. So what we can go in terms of extreme is, we can either fall to samsara. That means we become victim of our own negative emotions. We engage in all kinds of negative actions, and then we fall into the trap of samsara, and all this entanglement, dissatisfaction, pain, emotional pain, and so forth. So that's one extreme. The another extreme is, even though there are practitioners who reach a level where they don't need to come to samsara, and that's like peace and peace and peace always, and that's called nirvana. So Shakyamuni Buddha, or the Buddhas, actually avoid both the extreme. They don't fall into samsara, at the same time they don't fall into nirvana, but they achieve what we call the bigger nirvana, or the ultimate nirvana, where they are not attached to peace. They can still come to samsara and benefit beings. They courageously kind of embrace samsara, come to samsara, come where the problem is, come where the suffering is, pain is, and then try to relieve the suffering and pain of others. So that's what you call the middle way approach of the Buddhas or the Bodhisattvas.
Yes, Kempola. So we have a question here. How to utilize this Buddha Sakyamuni practice in conquering our fear and anxiety during this time of pandemic?
I think one particular practice one particular thing that is related to this particular text is that when we meditate on Shakyamuni Buddha, our mind will be more focused, you know. It's not like one of the things is there are two ways to conquer the fear. The first is to achieve what we call a calmness of mind. When there's fear, then the calmness of the mind is disturbed, right? So when you focus your mind on Shakyamuni Buddha's image, recite his mantra, think of his qualities, of his compassion, of his wisdom, and then your own devotion, when you give rise to devotion, you receive blessings, and in that process, you know what happens is you are protected from that fear. That's one thing. Another thing is the practice of what we call the insight, the special insight. The special insight talks about why do we fear so much? Of course, the fear actually is, it has, it is not negative. Fear, a certain amount of fear is needed in our life in order to operate well. Like, for example, when you drive a car on the road, you should have fear of accident, That's why, because of that fear, you'll be more careful. You will drive, with alertness, and you will also wear the seat belt because you have the fear that you might, even if there's accident, you might get hurt. If you wear the seat belt because of that fear, you act in that way, but that when that fear becomes what we call paranoia, when that fear becomes what you call unrealistic, fearing too much that you really can't think, there's no clarity there, so that's harmful. That's your own mental projection, that's all your own creation, because it said that almost 80% of our fear are uncalled for, destructive. It is not based on reason, it is not realistic. So that comes through understanding what is the reality, what is the reality of the situation. When you understand the reality of the situation, then the fear actually subsides. The thing is, like, when during the pandemic, you need to take all the precautions, definitely, because that's reasonable fear. But if you, despite taking all the precaution, even if you fear too much, that you can't function, that's not helpful. So don't go into that extreme, A certain amount of fear is needed, but when you go, when it is blown out of proportion, then it's not healthy. It's harmful for you, and it kind of it numbs you. You can't function. There's no clarity of thought. So therefore, be realistic. Be realistic, and in that way, I think we can protect ourselves. And that also has to do with, looking at our emotions, how far they are realistic, how far they are just projections, assumptions,
Yeah, thank you, Kempola. It is really advisable for us, like especially Malaysian now we need that. Okay, so I think there's one last questions. We'll make it last questions for tonight from our floor by Shamisha Kamble. Thank you very much for this precious teaching, Kempola. I will be thankful it could explain furthermore about how dedications of merits act as the antidote to doubt, and how is that by dedicating merits we seal our merits. Could you please explain some more?
Okay. When we dedicate, the dedication is done. What does it mean by dedication? Normally, like when we engage in any kind of spiritual activity, a certain amount of merit is accumulated there. Something is generated there. Positivity is generated, and then when the positivity is generated, normally what we do is like we do it with the merit is more or less directed to our own kind of well-being. Okay, may my health be okay, or may I achieve success, may I be free from obstacle, may I live long, may I have a healthy life, or your family. So it's kind of more or less like, it has a selfish kind of tag there. It's been kind of like it's the objective is more like very limited. So that actually doesn't help much, even though there is a certain amount of positivity there. So dedication is like you dedication is more like giving. you know so you don't own that merit, you just provide it for everyone. Whatever merit that I have got, may all sentient beings be happy, may all beings be happy. So you see the limitlessness, the opening up of your approach. you know so the first one is more like directed towards you and your circle, immediate circle, right? Whereas dedication is like you spread it everywhere. You spread it everywhere, or you dedicate for achievement of enlightenment. When we talk about enlightenment, we talk about limitlessness, we talk about unconditionality, we talk about wisdom and compassion, which is not bound by nationality, which is not bound by regionalism, which is not bound by religion, which is not bound by caste, not bound by language, whatever it is. When we talk about enlightenment, enlightenment is spacious. So when we dedicate for enlightenment, it's like opening up, and you kind of like you do not own the merit, you spread it for the benefit of all beings. So that actually enables the merit to multiply and multiply and multiply and multiply limitlessly, and therefore it becomes what we call inexhaustible. So therefore dedication is so important. And moreover, this dedication also works as an antidote to, particularly, it works as an antidote to your self clinging and self grasping. Because whenever we do something, our like motivation is very much directed to me, 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 me all the time. Okay, I have to. If I do this, what will I achieve? What will I achieve? What will I get? So there's like constant reinforcement of, ego, constant reinforcement of me and I and me. So that is like, that habituates the mind so much that it's for us it's very difficult to open up, because you have been reinforcing every now and then, each and every, even the breath that you take, even the body that you move, even the a second or a minute that you devote to any kind of task is directed to, oh, what will I get? What will I profit from it? So you see how the mind works. When this is being kind of constantly reinforced, refined in our brain, in our mind, then what happens is it binds us rather than liberates us. So dedication is more like liberating ourselves. We don't reinforce that habit. We just say, okay, share it to others, give it to others. I don't own this merit. I don't ask anything for myself here, which doesn't mean to say that you don't like yourself or something like that. But because you like yourself to open up, you like yourself to be free, liberated. That's why you're opening up. That's why you are kind of sharing it for others. So at the end of the day, the first recipient of the benefit of dedication is yourself. So that's very important. And it is an antidote to doubt, because self-clinging is very much there. Doubt is like, again, because we are always cling to ourselves, we are always in confusion because we are only looking at one part of the reality. We are not looking at the other part of reality. What is the other part of reality? Others. Ourself, we are only a fraction of the reality. There is also others, you know. So therefore, when you dedicate, then you break the boundary between myself and others. You break that boundary. You just share it. You just share your merit with everyone. And that opens your heart, and that actually acts as an antidote to doubt, antidote to clinging, antidote to what do you call that? Self, because we always think short term, and then therefore, like, we always create boundaries, and that's kind of dedication works in dismantling those boundaries, mental boundaries that we have created, you know. So it's very powerful practice.
Okay, thanks, Khenpo. I think our Q&A session has come to the end. So thanks again, Khenpo, for answering all the questions, and I believe that all the sharing from Khenpo has cleared our doubt. Yeah, and also thank you everyone for all the great questions today. Now we are entering the August very soon. The month of August very soon. We would like to give you a brief preview on our August activities. So there are going to be 4 meditation sessions and 1 dialogue between Sanskrit and Pali tradition entitled Sadharma and Sadharma, which is happening on 22nd of August. Then the next program from Satra Project will be the following Sunday, which is on 1st of August. There will be the meditation session guided by Venerable Sonam, entitled Spreading Loving Kindness in a Fearful World. So please mark down your calendar and join us on next week.
Okay, thank you, Hansi. Thank you again, Kevola. So tonight's sections almost come to the end. Let us conclude our sections with two types of dedications prayer. Like what Kevola shared to us just now, by opening our hearts, we hope our dedication prayer spread to luminous beings out there. Let us start with the English dedication prayers. The four great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attend it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. We would like to invite Khenpo to lead us on dedication's prayer in Tibetan.
Chanjo semjo rinpoche maye panan ki yuji kewa nyamba mebayang kone kondo pewar sho.
Thank you. Thank you, Khenpo. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us tonight. May all beings be well, happy, and safe. So, see you next section. Bye bye and good night.